Hi, Kellen Rouse again. So, this is another update on my EMDR journey. In my last video, I gave you an update on how I was doing after the major surgery that I had on, it was actually December 31st. I think I said in my video January 31st, but it was December 31st, New Year's Eve. I spent New Year's Eve and New Year's in the hospital. Today I would like to give you an update on how things are going with my EMDR journey. So as I mentioned in my last video, I had almost a year of almost no EMDR. And that was because I was unable to do EMDR successfully over telehealth. And, of course, with the pandemic and everything, it wasn't safe for quite some time for me to be in person with my therapist. As I mentioned before, I did have a couple of, one or two emergency visits before my surgery to get me fully ready for that surgery. And then I was able to get vaccinated in February. So by the end of February, I was fully vaccinated, which was really great. And so then in, I want to say March, I think, mid-March, I started to go in and see my therapist again about once every week or 2 weeks. And as I was going in, I realized that I wasn't totally sure that I needed to keep doing this anymore. And so there are a few reasons that I think this is happening. One is that we have fully processed all of the big T traumas. That happened a long time ago, over a year ago. And it was at that point that we went into ego state therapy. And a lot of the work that I've done since then has been ego state therapy. So getting in touch with the different parts of me that have been sort of stuck in a traumatic situation, or who have been watching out for me and making sure that I'm okay, but also causing me to have coping mechanisms that are very unhelpful at times. So getting in touch with those parts of me and showing those parts, basically giving them what they need, asking, what is it that you need? How can I help? Hey, look, I'm an adult now. Look, we're safe now. I'm safe now. It seems a little weird. It almost seems like you're talking to different personalities or something like that. But it really is just sort of parts of myself that don't know that I'm an adult and that I'm safe and that I no longer need the coping mechanisms that they've been using throughout my life. So I think that all of the work that I've done with that, along with working on the complex trauma, the developmental trauma, and the big T traumas, has allowed me to get to a place where, and this is like a huge statement, I can no longer say that I have cPTSD, or I probably do, but I don't have most of the symptoms of it anymore. So it used to be, if I looked at a checklist for all of the symptoms for cPTSD, I'm checking off almost every single one. Now there may be just one or two. So I spoke with my therapist in my last session, which was a few weeks ago, and I told her this. I said, look, I don't know really where to go from here, because I don't have really much of anything to process when I'm coming in. Also, I noticed that the things that I was processing, I was processing super quickly. It was like my brain was like, okay, we know what we're doing here. And it was happening super, super quickly, often in 30 to 40 minutes, whereas before it may have taken me upwards of an hour and a half to process something. So with the other thing is, because I had such a long time that I wasn't doing EMDR, I did finally get to see the effects of the healing from EMDR that my therapist had been telling me about. So the way that she liked to describe it is that every time I have an EMDR processing session, it's like having a little surgery little sort of psychological surgery, and it takes a while to heal from that, just like any other surgery, and to see all of the benefits of the surgery, right? Which I can really understand, having now had like a major surgery and healed from it and seen the benefits from it, right? So I believe that even though it was distressing at times, because there were times when I needed to come in and process things, the break that I had because of the pandemic, it allowed me to heal. So because I had all of that healing happen, I'm not in a place now where I feel like there's a lot for me to do with EMDR anymore. So we decided to take a break over the summer. And, of course, I'm free to call and schedule an appointment if something goes on or something, I just need to process something or I need someone to talk to or whatever. But my plan is hopefully not to have to do that unless it's absolutely necessary, and to instead sort of just like keep a list of things that I might want to work on as a kind of wrapping up thing, right? Like, what are some final things that are coming up for me? Interestingly, I have had a pretty major family trauma that has been ongoing. I've spoken about it in other videos, and this has to do with my sister. My sister committed some crimes having to do with opioid, benzo, and amphetamine addiction. She was in the county jail for 8 months. I was then able to get her into rehab, which I think I talked about in one of my other videos last summer. And she has done well in this rehab program, and she's graduated their program, but now she's about to go into pretrial or an arraignment, and which is taking her out of sort of the little county court and putting her into the circuit court. There's a possibility that they may send her back to jail, and all this is very triggering for me because, as much as I've worked on sort of my big sister protectiveness and feeling like I'm the one who has to be responsible for her, it's still there, and I don't know that it'll ever fully resolve. I went and visited with her last weekend, and it wasn't a good experience. And when I came home, I was not in a good place at all. I realized that I had been triggered by her behavior and the way that things had gone on that trip. And it was, it took me about a day and a half to be in a place where I could release the emotions. And so yesterday morning, I tried this again, because I was like, all right, this doesn't work for me as far as processing traumatic events, but maybe it'll work for processing an emotion that feels like it's stuck in my body. So I just sort of laid back and I did this. I closed my eyes. I thought about the situation and just immediately started sobbing. And I'd cried a little bit before that, but not like this. I mean, we're talking like ugly crying for like 20, 30 minutes, right? And that release, right, was able to happen because of this, because I sat back and did this and gave myself permission to have the feelings, and they all came up and came out, right? So I think that's progress, because otherwise I believe I would have needed to go in and have a session with my therapist and do a processing session. But instead I was able to move the emotions up and out of my body and to have that release, that like healing, crying release that I needed to have. So that's where I am with my EMDR journey. I'm taking a break. I'm going to see how it goes. And I do believe that I may truly, finally be getting to the end of this journey. I know I thought that like a year and a half ago, and it wasn't the case. I had to do ego state therapy and some other things. But now, I don't know. I'm just better. I'm better in a lot of ways. So, probably around the end of the summer, I'll do at least one more video where I'm wrapping up and kind of talking about all of the things that, not so much all the things I've worked on, because I've talked about a lot of that in the other videos, but sort of what has changed for me, going, before, from before EMDR to after 3 years. And I don't even know how many sessions now. It's got to be getting upwards of 30 sessions of EMDR. As usual, if you have any questions or comments, please put them down there. You know what to do, and I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you to my very few subscribers and the few people who watch these videos. I hope that they're helpful to you, and thanks for watching. Bye.